I can get up too close.
You got 5?
Yeah.
Can you unmute them so they can let us know who they are? Okay. Okay. All right.
I do want to see.
Susan, you want to shut that door behind you?
Yeah,
Are we ready?
I want this.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I think the first thing we'll do is maybe do some introductions so that everybody can put a face with a name. And I know we've got some people attending online, and I'm hoping Glenn can unmute them and we can find out who's listening virtually. So I'm Don Gill, I'm the county administrator for Lancaster County, and we'll start right over here.
I'm Kelsey, I'm the deputy registrar.
Susan Jett, registrar.
Nancy Ellen Keene, Town Attorney, Kilmarnock.
Susan Cockrell, town manager in Kilmarnock.
Jim Cornwell, County Attorney.
Randy Reeves, Mayor of Whitestone.
Pat Frere, Town Manager of Whitestone.
Glenn Rowe, Director of Information Technology, Lancaster County.
All right, Glenn, can you, can we see who's online? All right. Eric Gregory, are you unmuted?
Yes, sir, I am. My name is Eric Gregory. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Hefty, Wiley & Gore in Richmond, and I serve as the county attorney for Northumberland County.
Very good. All right.
Next I have
Joe Schlatter, I think, yes.
We're here from Northumberland County. Kathy Davenport, our general registrar, is here, and Mr. Austin Schmidt, who's the chair of the electoral board, and I'm Joe. I'm the secretary of the electoral board.
All right, glad to have you. Who else, Glenn? Stuart McKenzie. I know Stuart. Stuart, are you there? He did.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And you had a phone number, Glenn, or was that?
That's me, 580-8910.
Okay. All right. So
Or
Stuart's on by phone. Okay. All right. Well, as you know, every 10 years we have to go through this process, and it's supposed to be done by the end of the year. That's when you get the census data on time. In September, this year didn't come until the end of November, so getting this process done by the end of December is really not possible. There's been some changes to code involving towns, and we're going to talk about that more in a little bit. From a very high level introduction, our IT director, Glenn Rowe, this is his third redistricting, so we're very fortunate to have him involved with this process. We can tell you from past experience that the Board of Supervisors, who are the ones who end up approving these maps, historically like to see as little change as possible in their voting district. That historically, that's what they like to see. They don't want their electorate changed a great deal. We've got Glenn and Deputy Registrar Kelsey Zentmeyer have been playing with these numbers and census blocks since we got the data in, and we've come up with a draft which is a very good place to start, I think. It accomplishes the goal of having as little change as possible based on the change in the reduction of census blocks and the change in the population of the census blocks. And it also stays within the parameter of the deviation between all of the districts being less than 10%. The one hang-up with this draft number 1 is that it still keeps the town of Kilmarnock split between Lancaster District 3 and District 4. And as you know, the town of Kilmarnock is already split between the counties of Lancaster and the county of Northumberland. There's a small part of Kilmarnock that lies within the county of Northumberland. So that's really a very high-level overview. The goal here today, I think, would be to come up with a map that we could all support, get behind, if not one version, maybe two, to take to the Board of Supervisors for consideration. Glenn, we do have the ability to make some changes on the fly so we can see how the numbers will look if you move various census blocks out or in. I'm hoping that the contingent of attorneys that we have here today can help us negotiate the problem of keeping a town split. I know there's some ambiguity there in regards to the code. So I think that's where we're headed today, and I'll ask our registrar, Susan Jett, right now if she has anything to add on top of this, maybe talk about town elections, and you know, I don't know if you want to go into the polling precincts combining 301 and 302 yet, but anything else that you might want to address?
You covered it nicely. Everything I needed to say. Again, we're only here just to weigh in and to listen. Our only concern really is from the standpoint of 24.2-308, which specifically says towns should be wholly contained within one election precinct or district. So that was our goal, is to try to get Kilmarnock not chopped up into 3, certainly, but into 1 if we could possibly do it and keep the numbers acceptable to everybody. So from that standpoint, that's what we've been working on. As far as the 301, 302 thing, we can bring that up now. It is something that the board, my board, electoral board, and I have been talking about for maybe a couple years, is the possibility of, once redistricting came about, that we could recombine those two into one group again. I don't know historically how they were split, why they were split. By doing so, by putting them back together, it would save the county money, obviously, in we would drop off an entire polling precinct that we'd have to staff and man for the election day. So it's worth considering. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion with that, but I don't want to pollute the redistricting with that right now. I think we should focus first on probably the town and whether it can be kept split or not.
And just to add, the town of Whitestone and the town of Irvington, town of Whitestone is wholly within District 3, and the town of Irvington is wholly within District 5. So Whitestone and Irvington are not a problem child like Kilmarnock is.
Easy, Don, easy. Easy. It's early in the meeting.
So, did anybody else have anything that they wanted to initially say?
I got an email from Andrew McRoberts.
Okay.
He couldn't find a Zoom link for this meeting.
It's on our website, homepage of the website. Oh, here we go. Let me,
Don, I'll step in if I may while y'all are looking for
Go right
that.
ahead.
The one thing you asked me to cover and I didn't, was the fact that up until this point, all town elections in Lancaster County were held in May. The new law has changed that and forced town elections to go to November, which is what has caused all of this confusion and issues with sharing polling places and having split precincts. So now that they are being held in November, we have the problem still in Whitestone and Irvington. along with Kilmarnock, that you're going to have town people voting in the same precinct with people that live outside of the town. Ultimately, I think elect, or the Department of Elections initially was trying to push for towns to have their own precincts, basically, and the rest of the population of that election district to have their own precinct. Somehow they have eased up on that, and then it became, well, they can be wholly contained and share the precinct, which I think is now our goal. But once again, Kilmarnock has got the problems with the splits, and we're trying to get them back together as best we can.
I haven't seen the proposed map. You know, we've been redistricting based on census blocks. It is possible to split census blocks, but that would take more work, because we actually have to have identifiable boundaries in splitting census blocks. And I don't know whether that helps us with Kilmarnock or not.
It may. I'm not sure, because that's news to us as far as doing that. I don't know. Glenn would be better to address that for sure. Our thing is, I guess, is I hate to see us redistrict and leave Kilmarnock split, and in 2 or 3 years, the state decide, no, we're not doing splits anymore. We want all of this fixed, and we have to go back and redo what we could have already taken care of. And that's our only thought on the matter.
Well, Kilmarnock's going to be split anyway anyhow, because it's split between Lancaster and Northumberland.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we can't fix that.
yeah, right, right. Well, I mean.
Those
guess-
lines aren't negotiable, I don't think.
So I sent the link to Andrew McRoberts, so hopefully he can join in, town attorney for Irvington. So, Glenn, do you think a good place to start now is to put up the current map and go from there?
Yeah.
All right.
Donna, can I ask just a background question? Just as a philosophical matter or a legal matter, in the redistricting process, is the goal in that to kind of level the census blocks? Is part of this being driven by changes in population? I'm just trying to understand what the kind of the fundamental premise behind the redistricting decisions
Yes.
are.
Redistricting is based upon changes in population. In localities where populations have been fairly stable, sometimes the redistricting, you have to do the redistricting every 10 years. Sometimes the map is identical than it was 10 years ago because the population is stable. But in counties where populations have changed, and that's almost every county, when you redistrict, you try to level out the election districts so that there's equal representation.
Okay.
So that a board member in District 1 is representing approximately the same number of people as a board member in election District 3.
Okay, thank you.
This is the current district map for Lancaster County, done back in 2011. And Glenn, did you want me to zoom in on the table, or?
Back then, we did it on a piece of paper, didn't we?
We had the technology back then.
Maybe I'm thinking of one before that.
Yeah.
Did you want me to go ahead and speak to all this?
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
And Andrew McRoberts he did get into the meeting.
Okay, good.
And I came over here basically just because that handheld, like the battery on that was running down, so I figured about, come over here where I could be somewhat heard.
Okay.
But, you all have already touched on the main parameters as far as why we do redistricting and the criteria that we have to meet when we do redistricting. The first one, of course, is equal population. We want to get the same, as close as we can. We want to get the same number of people in each one of the five districts within within an acceptable deviation from the target. That acceptable deviation for local redistricting is considered to be 10%. In other words, the deviation between your smallest and your largest district would be would have to be within that 10% spread. What we're looking at right now is the table from the 2011 redistricting, and what it shows is with the deviation percentage column is that we had a spread that was just under 10%. With the smallest district being District 4, and that had a negative 5.09, I believe that says. And the largest district, I think we had a plus 4.30% deviation. That's the percentage that that the population deviates from the average of the optimal value. So that's what we had the last time, and as far as equal population criteria. One of the other criteria that that we look at is whether or not we have contiguous and compact districts. And there really isn't any particular standard or measure for this requirement. Oftentimes it comes down to a visual or an eyeball test or an eyeball evaluation. Anybody that's familiar with the geography of Lancaster County and the demographics knows that we're probably going to fail most people's eyeball test. With all of the creeks and the rivers and all that we have here. Most of that is kind of superseded by the third criteria that we have, which is the fact that we have to create and maintain 2 districts that are majority African American population. What we finished with the last time around in 2011, we had the voting districts of districts 2 and 4. We had a minority majority in those 2 districts that was just over the 50% mark. We had 53.88 in District 2, and that's the voting age minority population. And in District 4, we had 52.01. The total, which would include not only voting age but also younger than voting age, percentages were a little bit higher. They were both over 56%. So that's what we had when we did this the last time around. Put up the one that shows the existing boundaries with the new census data.
Is that what you call existing plan?
That's the one all the way over to the right.
This one here?
Yeah. All right, so when we got the 2020 census data, the first thing that I did was I went ahead and recreated the existing district boundaries and put and fed the 2020 census data into it. And what we ended up with on the voting age minority population, we still ended up over 50% in both districts. But if you look at the deviation column, the one that's highlighted in yellow, you can see that we ended up with a spread that was quite a bit in excess of the 10%. There it is. The smallest district that we had a negative deviation of 6.75, and the largest district had a positive deviation of 7.62. So our spread was, as you can see, was substantially over 14%. So that's what we had. I guess that's what we had to work on, is to move some census blocks around, as few as possible, of course, and try to get that the equal population numbers back in line, back within the 10% deviation, while at the same time maintaining the voting, the minority voting strength in Districts 2 and District 4. So we took to crunching the numbers. Kelsey and I worked on this quite a bit, and bring up the not that one, the one to the right. There you go. So what we came up with was what we're calling 2021 Redistricting Draft Number 1. And And I stress that this is a draft. This is, this is not something that we're pushing on anybody. This is not set in stone. This is just our starting point, okay? Zoom in on the chart if you don't mind.
On the chart?
On the chart, yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to start with the voting age minority population. We were able to get the numbers back, we were able to maintain the numbers at 53.08 and 51.73. At the same time that we got the equal population numbers back in line, back within the 10% deviation. Our largest district being District 5 with positive 5.02, and the smallest district being District 1 at 3.56. So that deviation is within the 10% criteria. Zoom back out so they can see the map. And the way we were able to accomplish this was, I counted them the other day. I believe that there are about a dozen census blocks that we moved from one district to another in order to achieve this. There's a block up there along Maratica Road. There's another one down just to the southeast of that encompasses a neighborhood that is served by a road named Leetown Road. Then further over to the east, we moved an area from District 1 into District 2 that I believe is known as the Courthouse Landing Subdivision, also Western Branch Preserve. It's served by Avis Trail. Further down to the south, in the more populous part of the county, there's an area there that we moved from District 4 into District 5. That would be kind of the north side of Black Stump Road and the south side of Cox's Farm Road. There's another area in the northwest corner of the county of Kilmarnock that we moved into District 4 from District 5. There are a couple of smaller census blocks that are sort of in the southern part of Kilmarnock that may not show up too well here that we moved from District 3 into District 4. Then go to the southwest, we had a small sliver that, further up, a small sliver that was along Taylor's Creek Road that was moved from 5 to 4.
Okay, right there.
Yeah. And then we had another one just north of the town of Irvington that was moved from 5 to 4. And the last one, I believe, would be all the way down to the south there, a section along Maryball, to the west of Maryball Road that was moved from 5 into 3. And all of this is about getting the equal population and the minority voting strength reestablished. One thing that we did with this draft is we maintained a split in the town of Kilmarnock. It is split between Districts 4 and District 3. Bring up. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this red line denotes the town boundary of Kilmarnock.
Yeah, those red lines are the
Yeah.
boundary of the incorporated towns. You can see that
And
the towns of Irvington and Whitestone remain fully within an election district, but the town of Kilmarnock obviously is split between 3 and 4.
Yeah. And
You missed one other important criteria. We didn't move any of the board members out of their district.
that was one that I hadn't spoken to yet, but yes, we did check, and all of the board members and school board members would stay within the districts that they were elected to serve.
yeah, we checked that yesterday, Jim.
Glenn, just a question. Of the portion that is in District 3 in Kilmarnock, how many census blocks is that?
How many census blocks?
I'm going to the problem solving of, how many census blocks would we have to
Looks like 7.
move to get that incorporated within one district?
6, looks like 7.
Yeah. Bring up that, I guess we're on that subject now. Go ahead and bring up that, that other map that I had that showed a hypothetical unified Kilmarnock plan.
Okay.
What we tried to do here was we tried to put Kilmarnock all within District 4. That way, all three of the incorporated towns would be fully within an election district. And what we ended up with, we were able to achieve the equal population criteria by moving a couple of additional census blocks around. I think we had another, we had another one where, that is down in the area of the county known as Crab Point. We moved that over into District 3, and there may have been a couple of other ones that we moved. Problem with that is we really looked at this hard, Kelsey and I, and we could not figure out a way to get the voting age minority percentage in District 4 much beyond 45%.
And it needs to be over 50. So
Because of the existing population total.
to maintain two minority-majority districts.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a court order from back in 1990 or 1991 where we're required to maintain those two minority-majority districts.
Okay, all right, that makes sense to me now. Okay,
So see, 4 now is no longer minority-majority.
Right.
If those 7 census blocks are moved into
I got
District 4.
And one other thing I'll note, you can see it on this chart as well as any of the other ones, is one of the new laws that's in effect with this time around has to do with something called the adjusted population. They're requiring us to use figures that were provided by the Division of Legislative Services that are attempting to count persons that are incarcerated rather in federal, state, and local correctional facilities as residents of the localities that they lived in before they were incarcerated. So that's why you see that that population number being described as adjusted population. For us, it's only about 42 people, so it doesn't significantly affect the numbers one way or the other. I just wanted to point that out. The other requirement that we have for this year is that we're supposed to provide a GIS map. Once we get done and we have adopted election districts, we're supposed to provide a GIS map to the Division of Legislative Services. We're doing this mostly as a GIS exercise anyway, so that's not a problem. I just bring that out as one of the new requirements.
Can you move it over so I can see Kilmarnock?
All right.
So that pretty much ends my discussion. Did you have anything to add, Kelsey?
No, I think you covered it.
So I guess we're pretty much at the question and answer phase right now.
I have a question.
Okay.
It was raised over here earlier, I think, by Susan. The statute says that the towns can't be split. I mean, or at least that's one interpretation of it.
Yeah.
And
Well-
there was a suggestion that in 3 years, the state's going to say you can't do it. So what are they going to tell you have to do then?
Well, I think there's some ambiguity there. I'm not an attorney.
Yeah.
24.2307, I think, is very ambiguous. I'm not sure that it applies to towns. 308 does specifically apply to towns, but it says, and I'm reading right from it, it says, "There shall be one precinct for each town unless the council by ordinance establishes more than one precinct." So, I mean, hypothetically, again, I'm not an attorney, but if the town established 3 precincts, could not Kilmarnock 1 be wholly located within Lancaster County District 3? Kilmarnock 2 be wholly located within Lancaster County District 4? And Kilmarnock 3 be wholly located within Northumberland County District 3, I believe it is. If that were to happen, would we not be in compliance with 308?
Not sure we've ever established any precincts by ordinance.
yeah, we don't have
We don't
precincts by
have-
ordinance.
We don't do that.
Not for our own elections.
They're all at large. They're all at large.
So, I mean, I'm just,
Of course, there can be a precinct, you can still be at large. You
Yeah,
can
be
a
an
voting
at-large precinct, but we've
That
never,
would result in, instead of combining 2 precincts into 1, that would actually result in taking 2 precincts and turning into 3? Is that right, Susan?
I'm sorry.
If we put if we put 3 precincts in Kilmarnock, what would that do to our number of precincts?
well, 1 precinct would be in Northumberland.
Oh, okay,
One of Kilmarnock's
Yeah,
precincts would be in
that's
Northumberland.
correct.
that's right. So we'd have 2 precincts in Kilmarnock. How many do we have now?
3.
Oh, that would still reduce the number of precincts. But they would be wholly Kilmarnock precincts, does that meet the population requirements for a precinct? Don't you have to have, I forget the minimum
Are,
number?
wait a minute now. Are you suggesting making Kilmarnock its own?
Well, what Don's suggestion was that in order to comply with 308,
Right,
we have 2 precincts in Kilmarnock in Lancaster County, 1 precinct of which is in District 3 and 1 precinct of which is in District 4. Okay?
Right.
What about the population requirements for precincts? I thought there was a population requirement for, there can't be more than 5,000.
but they're
people.
sharing it with, in other words, the portion that's in 4 is sharing it with the rest of 4. The portion that's in 3 is sharing it with the rest of 3. So you're really not changing population. Am I correct, Glenn? I mean, it's a shared precinct.
We could have 1 polling place.
You mean,
Combine polling places
In a
as long as
precinct.
they're within a mile of precinct boundary. I've seen precincts consisting of 5 stations. Bay 1 was precinct 301 and Bay 2 was precinct 302.
Correct. You still, but as long as they're split on paper, you still have to staff them as split.
With separate
Yeah.
precincts.
But this 307, which I don't have in front of me, so I'm going, well, wait. It,
307 or 308.
307. You said it says that the town would have to pass an ordinance naming the precincts or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't have that now, so.
No, but you could.
Okay.
In theory.
In theory, you could. Glenn, I don't know if anybody online may want to speak.
I think Eric might have.
Yeah, can you check that to see if anybody online wants to speak? Oh, okay, okay. So people online can unmute themselves and be able to speak, is that correct, Glenn? Yeah. Okay, so if anybody online wants to chime in, feel free, let us know who you are before you speak. I will tell you that the Richmond County recently adopted new maps, and they left the town of Warsaw split. So what we're talking about is not unprecedented. It's already been done as recently as a month ago.
just so I'm clear, I got a little bit confused there when we started talking about, with respect to the town of Kilmarnock, as just making that, the example. If the town created a voting precinct by town ordinance, that would be just, that would be available just for residents of the town. So that the other residents of county election District 4 that did not live in the town of Kilmarnock, they would vote at a separate polling place, right?
That's what I was confused about.
That's
I-
how that would work, though.
Or do you have the ability to combine, to use a single polling place for multiple precincts?
You
Well,
could,
you can do that, but the confusion would result in whether they were town citizens or not.
Yeah.
right.
So I got the idea from all of the reading that I was doing on, I got the idea that the whole purpose behind, this new legislation was to reduce the confusion when people come in to vote.
Right.
As far as
Right.
Well, it
which
certainly has
ballot
succeeded,
is.
it certainly has succeeded in that, hasn't it?
Yeah. They're supposed to, that we're trying to figure out a way to get it so that, that when you go to vote, everybody that votes at that particular polling place gets the same ballot.
Well, would we solve the problem by agreeing to a boundary adjustment with Northumberland and just move Kilmarnock into Northumberland? Is that what?
We'll take our tax base with us.
We'll do revenue sharing, don't worry.
Luttrell loves me more, Don. You know where I live. Just saying.
I do know, yeah.
Threaten me with throwing me out of the briar patch. Go ahead.
That's why everybody's here today. We're trying to figure out the best path forward. So,
Glenn, let me just ask you, because you've been at this, and you and Susan have been at this obviously longer than others of us in the room. In looking at the math, is there any mathematical combination that solves the problem of the population piece and the minority-majority districts and gets even a cleaner look at the polling place aspect? I mean,
Well, that was the purpose, that was the purpose of coming up with that, with that last plan that put Kilmarnock all in District 4, that, was to show that, that we can't find a way to both put Kilmarnock all in one district and maintain that, the minority voting strength of District 4.
okay.
We looked and looked and looked, and we just couldn't find it.
I'm looking at the map of Kilmarnock, and I'm looking at District 4. I'm assuming without knowing that there's insufficient population in these two little pieces that swing outside of Kilmarnock but are still in District 4 to change the minority population.
I'm sorry, which ones were you talking about?
These two little, right there where it says District 4, and then you look over it and you see that there are two blue slices.
Oh, here?
In the yellow, those two little, yeah.
Yeah, that's to the east of route, the Maryball Road, right?
That's
Yeah.
outside of the town.
Yeah, but if we moved it into District, if we moved it out of District 4 into District 5.
It can't go to
District-
5.
District
They're
three,
gonna,
I'm
you can go to
sorry.
3.
District 3, will that affect the minority population more?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, those districts were specifically put in District 4, even though they were on the other side of Route 3, because they enhanced the minority
Is there any
voting
other-
strength in District 4.
Is there any changes to District 3, other changes to District 3 that we could make that would change the minority population percentage?
There is a spot in it would be the top of Norris Hill going out of Kilmarnock. There's one little census block up at the top in the green, right there, that adds to it a bit. It helps a little bit that we could put in 4, move over, but it doesn't accomplish enough.
But then that decreases District 2.
It does.
So
But
then you have to grab something from District 1
yeah,
to put the numbers back for District 2.
I'm interested, though,
But maybe you have to do that.
the
Maybe you have
ability,
to shift them all in order, well,
Well, we can show you.
the thing that's specific in the statute is talking about towns not being split. I mean.
right,
I don't know,
it's
so-
pretty clear.
I'm just
What
thinking-
about the idea of splitting census blocks? Now, that's a new,
I'm just wondering if there's enough population to make the exercise worth it, to split a census block.
I think some of them we looked at, maybe.
There are a few that are pretty large, that,
One issue that we run into with splitting census blocks is that the census block is the smallest statistical unit that we get from the Census Bureau to use in this project. We basically would have to go door to door
Yes.
to figure
And
out
I've done that.
who lives where.
Yeah, I've done that, I've gone door to door.
But we lost, didn't we lose like 1,000 census blocks? By the way they redrew them? I mean, we were 1,500, now we're at 500?
But then you have
And this has been
a 6-member board.
1988. We split census blocks in Dinwiddie in order to come up with the figures we needed, but we did have to go door to door. And we had to come up with identifiable boundaries such as transmission
Right.
lines, creeks, rivers, roads, to come up with the identifiable boundaries. And that was actually signed off by the federal court when we split our districts.
I don't know, it just seems to me that if, you might have to shift more than just one or two little places off of 4 into 5, or 3 into 4, or 4 into 3.
Well,
You might have to shift them all.
I think they have played with.
You
numbers.
have,
for a while, yeah, it's hard,
Okay.
because 1 and 2
Yeah.
are kind of up,
at the top.
and it's split technically, it's split by a lot of waterways and things like that, so it makes
Yeah.
it difficult.
Districts 1 and 2, you know, they're pretty much a closed loop. You know, with respect to where they're located in the county, and they're already, both districts already are low as far as total population. So, you know, if you take out of District 2 to put into District 4, then you're not only reducing the minority voting strength in District 2, you're also making it more difficult to meet the equal population criteria, because you're taking people out of District 2, and then you'd have to add some back, you know, out of District 1, and like I said, both those districts are already are below the optimal population value to begin with.
Is this one of those problems where there is no intersection between the 3 possible or 4 possible universes? I mean, I guess that's what I'm hearing. You know, there's the universe of getting the population right and the minority, majority correct, and then there's these other issues of the precincts. I guess that's what I'm asking. Is there, I'm trying to figure out which problem we really need to solve, if we've gotten the math optimized at the districts level.
I think the problem is, can we leave Kilmarnock split?
We're okay with it, but it causes other, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it causes other issues, and I'm not sure what the universe of solutions are. But if we assume that we've moved the numbers as far as we're going to move them, I don't want to ask, you know, I'm not asking you guys to go through that exercise anymore. Sounds like you've exhausted it. Or you're exhausted by it. One of the two.
I think both, probably.
We've spent a lot of time and exhausted a lot of brain cells working on this, but we are still open to suggestions.
Yeah. Hey, Glenn, you said you can make some changes on the fly, right? I mean, is that?
Yeah, we could open up the program and move some stuff around, just to see how that would affect the overall numbers.
You want Kelsey to go over and click
How lo-
while you move a
Would
couple
that-
of these
would that-
blocks? Would it help?
Would that help you all?
I think it would help them to see
Yeah.
and understand better, maybe.
I mean, because
I had no idea how moving one little block
Right.
would affect or not affect the numbers, you know, and it's definitely
How much of Kilmarnock,
enlightening.
how much of Kilmarnock is split?
well, in the proposed map,
Yeah.
let me go back and find that.
Just, yeah, that one little portion that remains in 302,
I think it's 7 blocks, 7 census blocks.
7 census blocks.
Yeah, seven census blocks. That's not the one, that's not the map I wanted. Let me see.
How long is this court mandate on the minority, majority? Is that an indefinite, does that have an end date, or is that for all time?
I don't think you have any political will not to do that.
I'm asking just for my own understanding of the,
It is until we kind of change it, get the court to change it.
okay.
It's these 7
So
census
those
blocks.
7 census blocks. So that's the problem.
Yeah.
Those are, yep.
If we can move them to District 4, that solves Kilmarnock's problem.
Yeah.
But then,
Those are numbers.
Then that throws District 4 no longer as a minority-majority district. And it's a whopping 5+ percentage points. And to make that up is very difficult.
and I guess Kilmarnock wouldn't de-annex that, right?
No,
What's that?
sir.
There,
I don't think Susan's going to give up any territory down there.
No, that's where the treatment plant is. We had to do a boundary adjustment just to get that in town. However many years ago? Wasn't that long ago?
What was the part where Chris Stam got added on to Kilmarnock over there, I guess, near the hospital? Was it a boundary adjustment?
Yeah, out to Harris.
Out to Harris
Oh,
Road,
yeah,
yeah. Mhm. All the way south to Harris.
Yeah.
That probably didn't have much effect, because there probably isn't much population there.
No, it's not. It's
But it's minority population as we go down Mary Paul Road.
I think the only option, honestly, would be if you split the blocks. like going outside of Kilmarnock towards Whitestone, if you stayed on the edges of Maryball Road and you split some of those blocks, you could probably pull in more minority, but it's a lot of work, I believe, yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah,
We'll be sitting here talking about it a year from now.
yeah.
And when I split district, census blocks in the past, I mean, we literally had to go door to door.
I didn't even know it could be done, so.
And we wanted a court order to, well, we had a court case against us challenging the redistricting by the NAACP. And the only way we could figure out, and actually we came up with a new map by splitting census blocks that the county liked better than it's now been approved, and the NAACP liked it better than when the county approved, so we got the consent agreement. But that took a while, it took months.
I'm sure it
Good to go.
did, yeah.
You good to go on that?
We meet on the project,
Yeah, on moving census blocks to,
fine, yeah.
okay.
I had a problem finding my statistics window.
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, Glenn can move some, if that will help you all.
Well, let's see what it looks like if you put all of Kilmarnock in
All right,
District 4.
Glenn, okay, I'll go back to the, all right, you got the screen now, okay. All right, so you're gonna move those 7 census blocks back to 4.
Okay, so you wanna put all of the, all right,
We want to make Kilmarnock
Yeah.
all in District 4.
all of the four. Now, I'm starting from the existing boundary right now, just so you know.
Yeah, from the 20, yeah.
I'm not starting from any of
You're not starting from draft 1, you're starting from the existing,
from the existing.
yeah, because Cox's Farm Road is still in 4, and Hawthorne Avenue is still in 5 there. So, okay. Can you grab draft 1?
I was gonna say, that would not, if we don't start with where we were, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be very effective,
Yeah,
because
can-
those numbers are gonna still be off.
Yeah, well, we'll have to go in
Yeah.
and manually adjust
Correct,
all of
yeah.
those.
Let me see if I can find draft one.
Okay. Because I'm wondering if you move Corbin Lewis Estates into 4, if Kilmarnock is all in 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then pull Lancaster Shores into 2,
Right.
how that will affect the numbers.
That's a good point. If you could pull Lancaster Shores in too, to compensate for the top of Norris's Hill, which
Right.
also would help 4,
Right.
you may
I just-
even
I
things
don't-
out a bit.
I don't know if Corbin Lewis Estates is going to be enough to bring 4 back above 50%. I don't know. And whatever else is in that block with Corbin Lewis.
Go up, right up here, go right in here, that big honk, zoom in.
Right there.
Mm-hmm. Take that. What is the census block? Is that the whole block?
It's right there.
Put it into. And then what does that do with number wise?
Well, this is current, so let me actually go back to my maps. So move. Our draft.
Well, in this map, you've already pulled one census block out of District 5 to put it into District 4 for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, yeah. The hashed areas are the blocks that are changing.
Or suggested, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yes, it's proposed, draft
And
1.
you pulled one out of District 4 to put it in District 5?
Yes. Between Cox's Farm Road and Black Stump Road.
And I'm assuming we all agree that we can have more, well, I'm not sure how to say this.
All right, so this is draft one.
This is draft one, okay.
Okay, so what you wanted to do first of all is put all of the Kilmarnock threes into four.
Yes.
Correct.
And then that should show us that the minority voting age population has dropped down to like that 44, 45%, whatever it is. All right, see that in blue, all the way to the right, it shows that 45%. So that's, we've lost a majority district by doing that.
But what if we go pick up that Good Luck Road
Okay.
portion and
all right.
add that in and see what that does
Yeah,
between 2 and 4?
Grab the census block with Corbin Lewis Estates, Glenn,
Put that in four.
and put that in 4.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That gets us up to 46.29.
Yeah, so see, it doesn't,
There's not enough population there.
right.
What about the one next to it, Jonathan?
Any suggestions, Kelsey?
We're also,
Or anything,
we're also way over on the deviation. of
Right.
District 4.
Right.
We're 14% above the optimal value.
Yeah,
So we'd have to take some people out of,
somewhere
white
else.
or black, we'd have to take some people out of District 4 and put it in, distribute them into other districts.
right.
Go to District 5.
We have to put you,
Well, because District 4 runs all the way down to Whitestone.
But then that splits Kilmarnock again, see?
Yeah.
I know. It really is.
So
It's
can you
very
drop
hard.
down
It's really,
so we can see the map a little more at the end of, south of Carolina?
if you take those two, District 4 on the east side of Route 3 and put them in 3, what does that do for you, Glenn?
I'll do it, but I'll tell you right now, nothing's good.
I think Glenn is just showing us things he's already done.
You get to 11%,
tried
but you got still got 45%.
Yeah.
Put those back in District 3, that drops you back down into 45.
How about anything south of there, toward,
On down Maryball Road, yeah.
down that way?
The census blocks, I think there are so big on that side. Once those 2 little blocks are done, then the next few are huge, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Some of those census blocks are pretty big, and they don't, and they don't really have many people. I mean, this one that I've got the hand on right here, I think there's like, total of 3 people in it.
How about the one just slightly north of that? Is that Dimer Estates?
Well, no, that Dimer Creek Estates is right here.
Is up in
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Mhm.
So that's a low-density
This
precinct.
one right here, yeah, this is pretty low density.
Okay.
Well, let's see. Total population there is 60.
I'm just thinking that's, I don't know if that's a minority block or not.
It's split about half and half. Got 60 people, 27 are white, are declared in the census that they were white alone, and 31 declared black alone.
amazing that those 7 census blocks in Kilmarnock dropped that percentage from almost 52 to 45. That's- Yeah, that's amazing.
And they are not that is
Right.
not a minority
Right.
community.
Right,
It's a lot, and there's also a lot of people, you see what it did to the total population.
right, right.
Before as well.
It's amazing.
Are there any high population areas around Irvington that could affect this? Not in the town, but around it?
No.
No?
I think we moved one block near
What's Mr.
Irvington,
Canterbury?
and that's all we could do.
Like 500 people, but it's for 350 people. something like that.
Yes, I mean, it's,
So what we really need to look for is high-density, minority, majority segments to go into the Kilmarnock,
census blocks, yeah.
census blocks, rather,
Yeah,
to go into District 4.
yeah, and I mean, we picked,
You've
one,
got-
one that we knew of.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not aware of any other high-density areas.
Once again, I mean, you're over in District 4 on total population, so
Right.
you need to move people out of District 4.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You really need to find blocks of high population, mostly white people, to put
To-
somewhere else.
To move out,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, you could go, yeah, I mean, you could go to like, Crab Point area, Yops Cove, down in that area,
You need to move a high-density white
Blueberry Point
area
area,
out
you
of
could
what?
move them.
Out
to
of 4.
4.
Into somewhere else.
Well, that doesn't help us get rid of, that doesn't help us reduce the total population.
If you move those from 4 to 3, it would reduce the population. I don't know what it does to the minority and,
Back into 3.
what's that?
It would help get people back into 3.
Yeah,
Oh,
Those,
I believe those are minority.
That was one of the things, if you remember that unified Kilmarnock plan that I showed, that's one of the things that I did to get the equal population, was to move all of Crab Point into District 3. Yeah.
right. But just north of Crab Point, and just in between Whitestone and Irvington, the blue, those blue
little-
Yes.
census blocks. I mean, that's all Crab Point right there. If you pull that back into 3,
You're talking, okay, along the road,
that bottom blue one,
We need that for 4.
down here.
yeah,
right in there,
If you move those out of 4, that really puts a dent into your majority, your
Minority.
majority, in District 4.
okay. Yeah, that's true,
In the lower part of Janesville, maybe go around that block
yeah.
until we annex it.
don't you be messing with these mats, Randy. Y'all want in on the fun, don't you? You're just over there, it's just too easy for Whitestone.
So it's not easy, as you can see. And Glenn and Kelsey have played with these numbers for a month or more.
Yes.
And, I mean, I think that's how we came to draft 1. It's the least amount of change. Still keeping the 2 minority-majority districts with the populations very close to where they currently are. But Kilmarnock remains split.
And like the large, if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4 little small blue blocks we were just talking about, the one above it that's kind of large, that has a corner to, let's say, the boundary of Whitestone, if you take that out, it helps, but then 4 is not contiguous.
Right.
You're creating a hole and no way to
Right.
connect it back. And that was the other problem. Every time we found a spot, you couldn't move it.
What's the population like, so?
392, I think it was last I looked at.
Do you know
population increase for the whole county under the census?
No, it's a decrease between
It's a decrease?
censuses.
We lost all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, if you do the system that y'all told me, take a draft, mandate on to at least tell the
You know,
people.
Kathy was saying she talked to Luxor.
Mhm.
That we could be straight.
Yeah.
I think y'all done an excellent job.
Well, the majority of the credit goes to Glenn
you.
and Kelsey, because they're the ones who have pulled over these numbers.
And who knows, 3 more years with the population won't change anyway.
That's right.
That's what that tells me.
I guess regardless of population changes, we don't have to, you know,
Well, I'm just
if we get this right, we don't have to do it for 10 years, right?
Some way of looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna be employed for another 10?
I don't plan on.
Yeah.
Unless we get sued.
I just found,
It's always that caveat.
I just found it killed my thought.
Question, Jim, but what is the, I'm led to believe that we no longer have to get pre-clearance from the Department of Justice?
That's true. But I think we have to submit it now to the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
Instead of to the Justice Department, we have to submit it to the Attorney General's office.
And if we remain, or we adopt that we keep Kilmarnock split, then something yearly, annually, you guys have to submit to the state a waiver and a reason for that, and meeting minutes and all that good stuff.
Who's gonna have to submit that for the split?
They have to create it like they did
Yeah,
before, and
yeah.
then I have to submit it to the Department of Elections.
We did it for 2021.
Yeah, we did it, yeah.
We would let Kilmarnock do it, but we didn't.
Yeah.
So the ability to keep that waiver, that's not just a one-off thing? That's
No.
something that can be done, you know, that can be done continually?
Well, they led us to believe that they were not going to grant waivers after the first year or two, that they were going to allow everybody to get through redistricting, with the hopes that we wouldn't need the waivers. So, we don't know that. But for now, yes, you can get a waiver.
Would you still need the waiver if Kilmarnock adopted an ordinance creating 3 precincts like I described earlier? Would you still need a waiver for that?
I believe you would, because it still doesn't,
It's still split.
it doesn't meet 308, so it's still considered a split by election law. I don't know that.
I don't know that it doesn't comply with 308, though. Because it says each town precinct shall be wholly contained within any election district used for the election of one or more council or school board members
And I think they're talking, when they're talking about council and school board members, they're talking about
for the town.
town
Yeah.
council members and town school board members if the town
Has a school, yeah,
It doesn't mean the Lancaster County School Board.
right.
Because there are incorporated towns that have their own school districts, is that correct, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, West Point, West Point, yeah. I mean, the waiver is no big deal. I mean, that's just a resolution and, I mean, that's easy to do.
Well, we could coordinate with Kilmarnock, they could adopt the ordinance creating the one precinct, creating the 3 precincts in the town, and Lancaster could recognize those precincts as part of its ordinance also, so we would be consistent.
That's, yeah, yeah.
And then we could tell the state, and we did it.
Our citizens will never figure out how to vote, the more precincts we give them. I go back to, I mean, if the goal here was to make it easy for the citizens to participate in the process,
Well, you already have 2, right?
yeah, we already have 2, and that's difficult enough.
3.
You've got 3.
You have 3.
Yeah,
No,
4
4.
if
You
you-
got
4
4, really,
if you count
including
Northumberland.
Northumberland.
And we, up until this point, have hosted all of Northumberland's citizens in our town elections. Because we've moved to November, that will no longer be the case. Now Northumberland is going to have to deal with their section of Kilmarnock, is the way I understand it.
So currently you have 4. What we're proposing,
My only point is,
you'll have
if
three.
citizens are very, very confused now when they try to figure out where do they vote, when do I vote, the confusion between county level elections versus town elections in the past, because we used different locations in the past for those two separate things. Combining them into November will be a help. But trying to help people understand where to go, they're still very confused. That's my only point.
Yeah.
Anything that we can do in this process that would be simplifying or uniforming would really be great. Let me ask just a theoretical question for the attorneys in the room. Given that Kilmarnock is split into Northumberland, a small portion, if that were not the case, let's just say Northumberland moved its boundaries around that little portion and we weren't split between two counties, does that simplify anything?
No, because we're not looking at Northumberland voters here.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that hasn't even entered into this equation yet.
No.
How many voters are
38, I think?
Yeah.
there? Well, it's not gonna affect the numbers.
Yeah.
No, but you don't want to build a process around 38 people either.
No, but that's just one split for
Right.
Kilmarnock.
No, I mean, moving to 38 people into Kilmarnock is probably not gonna help us with the minority, majority population, or the total population, because it's only 38 people.
You're right.
I know, tail's just wagging the dog here in this whole process.
There's 380 people that might be in assistance, but not with that, would like to have.
Do either of the attorneys that are online, would they like to chime in? Eric, Andrew?
Please.
Andrew's gone?
I'm just observing today, so I'll defer on commenting with respect and appreciation for the opportunity.
That was a lawyer way out.
Yeah, spoken like a true attorney. He got a kick out of that.
Indeed.
So, I mean,
This is a plan and there's no other, let's see if we can make it work.
yeah, I don't know of any other way to make all the numbers work without Kilmarnock being split. And, I mean, I think
And Kilmarnock adopting an ordinance creating 2 precincts.
Two or three.
they would have to have 3 precincts, but one of them is going to be in Northumberland.
But from Lancaster's point of view,
Yeah, 2 precincts for Lancaster, and then one of their precincts would be wholly within District 3, and the other precinct would be wholly within District 4.
and you coordinate with the county to adopt the same precinct. Right, Susan?
Sorry. I was thinking ballot styles, the nightmare. I was hoping to avoid this.
They would coordinate with us, so we'd have the same precinct for county residents.
Yes.
Or would they? Or would we?
Could we use the same polling place? I mean, for the Kilmarnock district that's wholly within District 4, would all of those vote at the same place?
No.
I got
Because-
one shaking their head yes and one shaking their head no.
I'm probably not understanding the question right, but I guess.
302's voters would still have to vote at the precinct for 302. As far as I know, I don't think you could take that town portion of voters and send them to the 401 precinct just because they're town voters. I don't know that.
Is that because of the number? It's too much when you combine the numbers?
Well, if we, let's look at it a different way.
Okay?
If Kilmarnock set up, and I know you gotta have a precinct for Northumberland, I'm forgetting that already, but if you set up 2 precincts for town voters. okay,
Right.
Would it be better for, no, because then people have to vote twice.
Yeah, they have to go to 2 different places.
Yeah.
See, now they're walking in and saying where they live, and then somebody looks at the machine and says, you're in the town, so you get this ballot.
Right.
And that's the same
But-
thing, that's true in Whitestone, because when I vote Whitestone.
Oh, this is gonna be a real hurdle for all of our election officers, because this was a special occasion. Only once in a while did they have these multiple ballot styles. And that's another reason the state is trying to push away from that, because errors are easy to make when you have ballot styles that all look the same, but they're all different.
Because when I go in to vote for
And you're-
Mayor Whitestone, he might not like it.
I don't care.
And the more ballot styles that are out in the field, so to speak, all come back and rest with us now in early voting. So whatever the field has, we have that plus every other precinct and their styles.
So we go to,
It's gonna be
and I'm thinking out loud, we go to 2 precincts in the Lancaster portion of Kilmarnock.
the Kilmarnock citizens would, depending on whether they live in 302 or 401.
Exactly. And we would use those same precincts for the out of town.
Just as we do
residents
now.
in-
That's the
Yes.
same as we do now.
the
Okay.
same as we do now.
The only thing you're saying is that we'd have to pass an ordinance saying that. I'm not sure what that does. I mean, the statute says that.
Yeah, right.
You would adopt an ordinance creating 2 precincts in town.
Which are basically the ones we have.
Right. But
Yeah.
You don't have an ordinance, so you have to
Yeah,
adopt an
yeah.
ordinance to comply
Yeah.
with 308. And then we'd argue we're in compliance because your ordinance created 1 precinct in District 4 and 1 precinct in District 3.
Where, when they were in May, see, you didn't have to worry about that.
Right.
All the town voters could go to one precinct, vote their ballot, be done, and it was over. I personally still like that. Whole lot less confusion for the voters.
And now, but they still have to vote twice because they have to vote in November for Board of Supervisors. The town citizens,
A town citizen, you mean they'd vote twice in a year?
twice a year.
Yeah.
Yes. Now they're going to vote once in the year, one set of ballots.
With a combined ballot.
A combined ballot for Kilmarnock Council, mayor and so forth, and for the Board of Supervisors and other constitutional officers.
Correct. And I don't know that any of you all have paid attention, but they've also changed all of our congressional boundaries and numbers and,
Yeah.
But we're not split between, we're all.
No.
We stay in one, right?
congressionally we do, but our Senate and House of Representatives district numbers have changed.
Who are we going to put now in the Senate?
Senate district now is 4, we're gonna be 25. And our House district
Who's the senator?
67.
is 67. I'm sorry?
Who's the senator?
In
Are we
25.
moving to a different senator?
No, they just changed the numbers.
They're changing the
They
numbers.
changed the numbers.
Suspected guilty.
Yeah.
They are changing some of the lines. Some people are losing their current representative, but we're okay.
Yeah.
Is the Northumberland piece of this in which district, 3 or 4?
I don't know what their precinct number is.
I think they're in Northumberland District 3.
Three,
If
I-
Joe is still online, confirm it.
It's Precinct 4, and they vote up at Wycomico Church.
Okay, so the little piece of Kilmarnock is in Northumberland District 4.
District 4, okay, that's what
And
Is that-
they'll have to go to Wycomico.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
but if Kilmarnock adopts a precinct for Northumberland
in Kilmarnock.
in Kilmarnock,
It will be in, that's what I was asking, is it in district, it would be in District 4, right? It's in the District 4,
Of Northumberland.
yeah.
to
I'm just trying to, yeah.
precinct.
This is Stuart McKenzie. All of Kilmarnock is in District 4
All of
in
Kilmarnock.
Northumberland County.
Okay.
You understand we're talking about town creating precincts?
Are you asking me?
I don't know if he can hear you,
Stuart?
Jim.
I'm sorry. Stuart, do you understand we're talking about the town creating precincts?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you understand that we're talking about the town creating election precincts?
I understand that. I'm telling you that Northumberland County has voting district, all of Kilmarnock residents are in District 4 in Northumberland County.
And they vote in
And I don't know
Wycomico.
what's,
They vote in Wycomico.
they vote in Wacomico Church, as far as I know, yes. And I don't know what Kathy Davenport's going to do with regards to precincts in Kilmarnock. That's a registrar question, and I don't know how that's going to play out.
So Susan, the Northumberland piece of with Kilmarnock, they're currently going to Wacomico Church to vote? They're not coming into the Kilmarnock precinct 301 or 401?
Correct.
Okay.
The current Northumberland town voters will have to go to 401 in Wacomico Church to vote.
Okay.
Even
They-
if it's for an in-town election.
Yes,
So that's a change as
Yes,
well.
and,
because it's going to be
this
in
is from-
November.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me, the Northumberland County Electoral Board?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, what we are planning to do, and I think, of course, Susan is aware of this, the voters, 35 to 40 voters who are in Northumberland County, they are identified in the registration system with a special code. So when they walk into Wacomico Church to vote, and we look them up in the poll book, they pop up as a town voter. And we are going to print, 40 or 50 ballots that have whatever election it is on that ballot, plus the town election, and they will get that ballot style. And our voting machines will be programmed to give us a separate tally for the town count. For example, when we're voting for governor, the votes that are cast by people from Kilmarnock for governor will be aggregated with the Northumberland voters. But there'll be a separate tally that shows how they voted in the town election. We'll provide that to Susan, plus we have to enter it in Verus. But that's what we're planning to do, is just print a separate ballot style. So we'll have a little separate stack of ballots to give to the Kilmarnock town voters when they come.
Correct.
So our ordinance will have to be done in 2 different places.
Okay, does that address the question?
Yes, I think we understand where you're at with the piece of the town that's in Northumberland.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but hey. I'm kind of with Susan at the other end. I mean, I'm looking at it from the voter perspective, but honestly, I've watched them work these maps. I don't have an answer. Short of splitting precincts and trying to find people that fit our need on both sides of this. I don't see how we can do anything else.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be any more difficult on the town voters because right now there's 4 precincts. You're going to be dropping to 3. Right now you're voting twice in a year. You're going to be dropping to 1. You're still going to be going to the same places to vote. So
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know if it's going to be more confusing or not.
The precinct issue is that the precinct doesn't have to be in the election district. It only has to be within a mile.
Right.
Right. So
But the precinct's already established, so
now
they,
now we're talking about Kilmarnock adopting precincts for the citizens of town.
its own, not using the ones that are there?
We coordinate so that they're both
The same.
the same,
Same.
but they'd have an ordinance created.
So we
so that-
comply with the
So
statute.
one Kilmarnock precinct would be in District 3 and one Kilmarnock precinct would be in District 4.
Right,
Yeah.
like it is now.
Like it is now.
It-
And the physical place would probably be identical, because the precinct, voting place doesn't have to be in the precinct, it only has to be within a mile of the precinct.
Correct.
Right. So,
But there,
Isn't that kind of creating even more of a split?
I didn't write the statute.
I mean,
I'm not sure if that's worth doing, though. What you're saying is maybe have, after this is written up, that the 302, let's just say, because that's a small section of Kilmarnock, those voters would go to the same precinct with the rest of the town voters in 401 and vote? No.
They would go
I'm
through.
confused.
The
We're
only
just
difference-
documenting and
Okay.
memorializing
Oh.
what we're already doing.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm
exactly
fine with
right.
that.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Because the
Yes.
statute says we're supposed to have an
Right.
ordinance.
That's exactly right, yeah.
It's just-
Right, okay. The issue then becomes, if this is the way everybody chooses to go and these maps are adopted, the problem then becomes, Don, the 301, 302 issue that we discussed will throw another wrench into this a
Well, then
little bit.
they probably need to stay as they are. I mean, I would think. Because
Correct,
you wouldn't want to make the voters who are voting at 302 in Kilmarnock have to go to 301 in Whitestone.
right. Or a midway point. We were looking at like
Right.
Church of Nazarene, something like that.
So the folks that are in District 4 all the way down in Whitestone, where do they vote today?
Baptist Church.
Kilmarnock,
They
Grace?
vote in Kilmarnock today? Okay.
So what we're talking about is submitting to the Board of Supervisors this proposed map, submitting it and asking the town council of Kilmarnock to adopt under 308 precincts so that all of their voters that are in District 3 would vote in one precinct and all their voters in District 4 would vote in another precinct. And then we would hopefully hold the precincts, the polling places the same.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I think,
they're all at-large precincts,
Yeah.
so that,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think everything stays exactly as we've been doing it. It's just like Nancy Ellen said, we're documenting it and memorializing it
Kilmarnock just has to-
in an ordinance, yeah. To comply with
So that
308.
when 3 years from now, when the Board of Elections tells you you're not allowed to have them anymore, you say, well, we're in compliance with your statute.
Mhm.
See
That's
how
true,
far
that is true. That would be the case.
And we pay a lot of money to support the court system, so. I think that's where we are.
So it sounds like then that we can all get behind draft number 1.
The biggest thing is we haven't moved any elected officials out of it.
Exactly. And, you know, the other thing is that the percentages are very close to where they are now.
Right, exactly.
Which, you know, I've had every board member come in my office and look at that draft map on the table, and that's the one thing they want to know, is how much have the numbers changed in my district? And, so,
And what is the timing for the Lancaster Board of Supervisors to approve this?
December 31st, 2021.
What is Don's game plan at this point then?
we'll probably take this to the board January 27th as a consideration item, and then they'll tell me whether they want to schedule a public hearing in February, but we've got to wait until Kilmarnock passes an ordinance, correct? So maybe Kilmarnock has to drive this one before we can go any further.
First, they have
It's
to
gonna
take the
require a public
councils
hearing, isn't it?
and
Yeah,
explain
public
it to them.
hearing.
Yeah.
We can probably do it by February if we get, put it on the January 24th.
Yeah. they-
Yeah, I mean, we can do a first reading this month and get the public hearing done in February.
Okay.
I mean, we got time.
And I think we've got time, because when does all this have to be done to meet the general election
They
deadline?
said they were hoping by early voting for the June primaries, which is at the end of April.
Right, so you
Okay.
have 60 days, you can't make any changes, so it would be April. So we got
Okay.
End of March. yeah.
January,
Right.
February, March.
It's close.
Yeah.
We can do it by February.
Yeah, I mean, we can have the ordinance passed in February.
Okay.
That's gonna be.
But that's as soon as we can do it with the
Right.
first reading this month.
You'll
Right.
need- You'll need a map.
Yeah, we'll need a
Yeah.
map by the 24th of January.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
we're
we've
doing the
we've got a
ordinance,
map,
the
don't we?
Map that hadn't been approved yet,
That's right.
Draft 1. Yeah, we've got that.
yeah.
But we'll have to, you're right, you'll have to have pretty much consensus of the Board of Supervisors that will adopt this plan before Kilmarnock adopts it.
Yeah, because otherwise
Yeah.
we're backwards.
Otherwise, we're,
So I'll bring it as a consideration item on the 27th.
Which means I can't do first reading though until February with a March approval. Because our meeting is ahead of yours this month.
It's the 24th,
Okay.
It's the 24th, yeah.
so it would have to be March approval.
It'd be March approval for us.
What's the date of your March meeting?
Let's look.
It is usually on the 21st, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so our meeting would be after that.
yeah.
So we could do it by, at the March 31st meeting, adopt it.
We can give it to the board Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
not as a consideration docket, just give it to them.
Yeah,
They've already seen it. but we
Right.
Give it to them, and we meet Thursday.
yeah.
This Thursday.
Yeah, we've got a special meeting.
Oh, you have a special
We've got an organizational meeting at 6 and then a joint meeting with the planning commission at 6:30, but we can give them this,
Give it to them.
yeah,
So you
just
would
say-
have it would be out as a public document before the 24th.
Yeah,
Well, then just give it to us then, and we'll do a first reading on the ordinance.
okay.
I mean, if you're comfortable that we can move with it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, yes, okay.
I mean, unless some of the board members don't like it, but you say they've all looked at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing, they all don't want a whole lot of change in their district, and and the numbers are very close.
It's this Thursday, Don, is this meeting? The
Yeah.
13th? That's plenty of time.
Yeah,
That's plenty of time. If you get anything that you need to adjust, we got a whole nother week
yeah, okay.
before our council meeting, so that's all right.
Yeah,
You got a whole nother week. You can do anything in a week. I'm gonna do packets on the 20th.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's plenty of time.
the map of Kilmarnock is gonna be important for their ordinance. Do we already have that in existence between the split?
Yeah, I mean,
between three and four?
Glenn's got draft 1, he can just zoom in and
Well,
do
that's what
Kilmarnock.
You'll have to carve out of Kilmarnock by ordinance, three,
Yeah.
and carve out the four. I don't know whether you do that street by street or just census, I don't know.
Can you define it by census blocks? How did we do it in the last ordinance?
I think we did the census blocks.
Do you have your ordinance that we can have, your last one?
Well, we can use the last Lancaster redistricting ordinance.
Yeah,
Be it done.
could you send that to me?
The description that's in the ordinance, if I remember correctly, that uses, it uses more common references to boundaries like.
You're right.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that.
Name of roads and.
I remember
Yeah.
that. So you're gonna have to go street, you're gonna have to do by streets.
Well, this is layered in GIS, right?
Yeah.
So just give us the Kilmarnock piece, zoomed into that, and we can start to make reference to where the boundaries are, and we can use the document as,
Do you want it as a GIS file, like shape file, or do you just want it as a PDF document?
I want it as a PDF document. I don't want access to
we-
underlying data.
Do we have the division between 3 and 4 in Kilmarnock? Do we have that by street?
I'm sorry.
Do we have it by street? You know, what's, Main Street is in the,
Can we roll up and look at the
I
map?
can put the streets and the street names on the,
that's what you're looking at.
That's what we're gonna need.
Yeah, we just need enough detail that we can describe the boundaries. And,
And the Northumberland
yeah,
boundary too.
we need all that.
I don't have any data on their street names.
Yeah. Now, Stewart might be able to provide that.
You have to get it.
Yeah.
Do they have, well, they've got their own map though, then, I guess, they're not even using this right here.
No.
I'm, Stuart might give us more information on that, but I believe they're using the same platform that I am to
Okay.
work with the redistricting, data.
Well, we'll do this on January 24th, assuming all of this technology and everything, we get the information we need to draft this.
Right. Who has the Northumberland maps? Is that Stewart?
Yes,
Is Stewart still on the line?
yes.
Stewart, can you send that to us?
Yes, I'm here, but our redistricting committee has not decided on a final draft. We had a couple meetings before the end of December, but they told us that we were rushing them, and so we're going to have another meeting sometime soon, but we are nowhere close to having a finished redistricting map.
But you're not going to split the part of Kilmarnock that's in Northumberland. That's going to remain in one district, I would assume, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do the adjustments between the boundaries of the districts, and the District 4 goes all the way out to 200. So no, I fully anticipate that all of Kilmarnock will still be in voting District 4 when we are done, when it's all said and done.
So we can't write an ordinance, though. We can't write an ordinance that would include the Northumberland parcel now in January. We'd have to come back with a separate ordinance, or we'd have to hold the whole process until the Northumberland piece is ready.
Well, you know where the Northumberland
Yeah,
boundary is in Kilmarnock.
yeah.
Okay, so from there, the rest of the town would be a separate Northumberland precinct.
Assuming they don't make any changes, it'd be just nice to have their definitive piece.
Kilmarnock,
Yeah, it'd be nice to have Northumberland's final decision to go with the ordinance.
well,
that.
if they do, and I think we all, Stuart would probably be surprised if they did.
Right.
For that.
I'm not expecting any changes, but I would not want to do an ordinance without having their definitive work complete. I don't want to assume something in the ordinance and not have it be, official from Northumberland County.
Well, they've got to get it done in the same time frame we do.
Yeah, but I hear it's not going to be ready for us to do a first reading of an ordinance on January 24th. That's what I'm hearing, unless, Stuart, I've misunderstood.
No, as far as I know, I'm not sure what the timeline is. I heard you all talk about April 24th, but I have no idea. I cannot predict when the committee would be completed their task.
But the description of the boundary of the portion of the town of Kilmarnock that's in
fine.
Northumberland County is not going to change.
That's correct.
So I think you can describe that portion of the town of Kilmarnock that's in the county of Northumberland in an ordinance, whether they've adopted anything or not, because that portion is not going to change.
Yeah, it's not going to change. If we were to, for some strange reason, want to move it from 4 to 3, then that would hurt our majority-minority district. So, as Mr. Gill pointed out, I do not think there will be any changes in the Kilmarnock voting districts because it would hurt our minority-majority district percentages.
And you
So,
really-
Stuart, you can give us what you have now, correct?
I don't have anything now. We've got 6 drafts, and nobody's agreed on any of them. And
Do any of the-
they took issue with. Well, they wanted to get the percentages down as close to one vote, one person for the numerical deviations, and so they have not made any decisions whatsoever. But as I mentioned, if we move anything from the town of Kilmarnock into the only neighboring district that's down there is 3, which is our majority-minority district. It would not make sense to move low minority census blocks into a minority district. So, as I mentioned before, I think it's very unlikely in the terms of 90% that we would even move any of that down in Kilmarnock.
But in any result, you don't see any chance that Kilmarnock, the portion of Kilmarnock in Northumberland is going to be split by Northumberland.
It's a fact of life.
It's all going somewhere,
Yeah.
either 4 or 3.
Well, I mean, I don't think it'll go to 3 because that would hurt our our
yeah,
percentages
but-
in our minority district.
but
So,
it's
as
all-
I mentioned,
Right.
I don't see any changes in that area in this redistricting process. Of course, I'm not the redistricting committee. We have citizens that have their own minds. So I cannot fully 100% say that's going to be the way it falls out, but I would say 90% of the chance we're not going to mess with District 4 in Kilmarnock.
I agree, but I've been burned before by not having the ducks in a row. And I learned that lesson, I don't have to learn it twice. This may be a low probability chance.
Well, Glenn's gonna get you the,
All right, well, it sounds like we can all get behind draft 1, and we're going to give it to the Board of Supervisors Thursday night, FYI, and the town is going to be working on an ordinance to establish the precincts. Then we will have a public hearing before the Board of Supervisors, and we have to draft revise our ordinance to, the language and descriptions to match what Kilmarnock is gonna have.
But we got, and the places we moved otherwise.
Right, and, you're not looking at changing, Susan, you're not looking at changing any polling places or anything?
No.
Okay. And I mean, I think we've just answered the problem about 301 and 302.
Yeah, that would have been the one we would have suggested the
Yeah.
change to. We were hoping to combine.
But now I think it makes more sense to leave them as they are.
Wouldn't it make sense for you all to come up with the descriptions?
Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll probably need help from Kilmarnock on the street. Then they have that for us too, and you make sure it's consistent.
Randy and Patrick, I want to ask one question. What is the possibility if we did want to move the Whitestone precinct back into maybe the firehouse or something like that? Do you think that's doable? That church is so tiny, and they are so good to us. They love us, and we love being there, but my goodness, it's tiny.
I think we probably could move it back to the firehouse. We had a couple of issues, but I think we can take care of that.
That would be the only thing. I know my board, like I say, we've struggled with that precinct and trying to get it in a good spot, and there's no place else really in the town that we can put it.
Right. It is combined when you're in that church.
And then the bank evidently is now being used by the food bank or something like that, and when they park,
The old back.
yeah, when voters park over there, they get upset, and it's not the best.
We can take that to the fire department.
That would be nice to do as part of this
Yeah.
at one time,
Yeah.
if that is a possibility, just because it would save on
It
voter
makes-
notices and everything else and voter confusion.
It makes sense.
We could, let's see. The first Wednesday in February, that meeting for the fire department. I could take it up there.
Okay.
Request it.
Okay. I don't think we'll have any issues with that from Jason or any of the Board of Supervisors.
No, I don't think so. Any issues with any of the other polling places? Because, I mean, this would be the time to correct it.
Right, oh, yes.
When we're redoing the ordinance.
I think we're good everywhere else.
Now, you should tell the fire department, we do have agreements that we have the owner of the polling places sign. Remember? Yeah. So you might want to get them a copy of it. If he's going to file.
Okay.
If he's going to the fire department and ask for us to move, they ought to see the agreement. It's pretty simple. The primary thing is that you don't notify us on Monday that you're not going to let us use the
I just have a question for Susan. Just thinking forward to when all this kind of really gets shook out, what's the relative, I'm thinking about helping to educate the public. What's the timing of when you guys come out with, here's the precinct numbers and the polling places and any of those kind of reminder things that happen, either on the website? I'm just trying to think about piggybacking with you so that we can do inserts in people's utility bills, just to help try to reinforce this is where you should go, and the process might look a little different or it doesn't. Because we get tons of phone calls right around election time.
Oh,
Where do I
yes.
go? What do I do? All that. So how can we help you on that?
What we'll have to do, we have to notify every voter if there's a change in any of the boundary lines to any precinct. So we can pretty much figure the entire county is going to have to be notified. It has to be in writing, so that'll be the first step. Though a good percentage of those will either get that in the mail and chunk it in the trash, or it'll come back undeliverable anyway. We know that. So I think, you and I, the towns, all of us, we'll just start putting information out there. I'd start with the paper. I'll get Bob Mason to run something in the front of the paper reminding everybody, the county has just redistricted. You'll be getting notices in the mail as a heads up, and
Is
then
that
we'll
like in
just
that
keep
April-
following it.
Is that April timeframe you were talking about, Or is it a little later?
It'll be as soon as we have finals on all of this.
Oh, okay.
But we also, keep in mind, we have to have, which I guess the state ones are final. I think they were adopted as is and effective immediately. Yeah, so,
Do you issue new voter registration cards after a redistricting process?
Yes.
Regardless if there were any changes or not?
if there were no changes, we don't have to.
Okay. All right.
But because of the changes, and even if, in this case, if you readopted the same map, because of the changes in the Virginia districts, we'll have to do it.
Okay.
Because their assigned numbers change.
So everybody is going to be getting a new voter
Correct.
registration card.
Correct.
So that should help.
That should cause some phone calls.
Yeah,
Good.
always does.
Just looking for activity, you know,
Yeah.
just trying
Yeah.
to predict what's gonna happen.
And I don't know about the regular population going up or down, but we've gained a lot of voters since last year, like over 500. We're in 9,000 and some. And we were way down. We were in 8,500. We'd fluctuate maybe 8,600 and back down, so
Well, that's a good thing.
it is.
So. All right. Is anybody got anything else? I mean, I think we've got a plan moving forward.
Vote early, vote often.
Actually, now they're voting less, just one day.
Yeah.
Or,
Just, I
know.
personally like voting early. I like the convenience of it. I know it's difficult on your guys' end, but I think that was an expansion of services that